quarterback? What are your strengths?
Well, everybody tells me I have a pretty strong arm, which is good. I'm pretty accurate with it. Pretty good work ethic, so I think I get the job done.
And the Patriots are Super Bowl 3 out of 4. Lombardi Trophy for the Patriots. I can't believe it. Super Bowl championships.
What are you willing to give up to be the best you can be?
We're gonna fight. We're gonna lay down.
In the end, my life's focused around football.
This is what I was born to do.
There's no quarterback I'd rather have playing for my team than Tom Brady.
On First Take for my return.
Good morning and welcome into First Take. Hope you all are hanging in there at home. It is good to see my guys, Max Kellerman, Stephen A. Smith, and of course Mike Greenberg, who's been holding it down all morning. Fellas, how we doing?
What's going on? How y'all doing? Hope y'all had a nice weekend.
Yes.
Likewise.
All right, let's get it. You know where we're beginning. That would be with the Killer Bees, gentlemen. In the aftermath of Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and that separation, our Seth Wickersham put together an investigative piece on ESPN.com that highlights some intimate details that led to sports' most public divorce. In part, Wickersham writes, Brady wanted what everyone wants from an employer, to feel valued and to love work. They seemed like two reasonable asks until Brady realized that in New England, under Bill Belichick, he might be asking the impossible. He also wrote about this detail I want to share with you guys. Read it right here. A call between Brady and Belichick ending without an agreed upon extension, with Brady's camp viewing it as further proof that the team wanted him only under rigid terms. That's what the extension was about, and that the team would be exploiting the chance to leak that they had an offer for him, and that the ball was actually in Brady's court. Stephen A., you've been all over this, that relationship, that divide between Brady and Belichick. Who's more to blame for this separation?
Well, there's no question that it's Bill Belichick. I've been talking about it, guys, for over almost a year now, as Max and Molly can attest to, Greeny. Here's the situation. Bill Belichick has his own rings. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. He's captured 2 Super Bowl titles as a defensive coordinator. Now he's captured 6 as a head coach, went to 9, Super Bowls as a head coach, and 2, obviously, as a defensive coordinator. So that's 11 in total. You can't tell him anything. It's not about kissing anybody else's ring. He's got his own ring. And even though people have used that phraseology with me when it came to explaining what dismay Tom Brady had with Bill Belichick, it transfers to a different level. It's one of those situations where Mr. Kraft obviously loves himself some Tom Brady. That's like a son to him, which is something he's personally told me on several occasions. The thing is that how can you not have profound respect for the greatness, the leadership, the brilliance of Bill Belichick? And Bill Belichick was one of those dudes, like Max has pointed out on many, many occasions, to his credit. He's very famous for getting rid of you a year early as opposed to it being a year late. And he certainly had that same mindset when it came to Tom Brady. Tom Brady is a guy that didn't want to follow conventional wisdom or traditional paths in terms of retiring from the game at age 40 or whatever. He thinks about the quickness when getting rid of the football, the way he's taking care of his body, the TB12 brand and everything like that. And he really had strong aspirations, obviously, to play until age 45. So what happens? He's sitting there saying, this is what I've done for you, but you want to treat me like I'm just anybody else. Well, I'm not anybody else. I am an aberration. I think I have proven that on many occasions, not just by the way I play, but the amount of times you've restructured my deals. It's rare, if ever, that I've been the highest paid player in football. I don't sit up there and crunch you come contract time or anything like that. I've made sacrifices that have facilitated you being as great as you are, because if you weren't able to get the personnel that you got in other areas due to me taking those risks and making sure to facilitate things for you financially, you wouldn't be in the position that you're in. He felt that there was a flagrant lack of appreciation on the part of Bill Belichick. And listen, it came down to this. If Bill Belichick had gotten on the phone with Tom Brady a year ago, we love you, we never want to lose you, we don't give a damn what it takes, Tom Brady would still be a New England Patriot. Bill Belichick was not willing to do that. He said, damn that. And that is why Tom Brady not only is gone, but he's been gone since last year. It was a foregone conclusion. We all basically knew it. And in the end, that's what it comes down to. So clearly, Bill Belichick is the person to point the finger at more than anybody else. Because as Kraft said to me when he called last week, if Tom Brady had wanted to stay, we would have worked it out. There's only one reason he wanted to leave, and that is Bill Belichick.
That's ridiculous. You're wrong. You're flagrantly, blatantly wrong, Stephen A. Think about what you're saying.
You're uninformed.
If Tom Brady had wanted to stay, he would have stayed. If he would have stayed, right, under his conditions, but he doesn't make the conditions. He's not the GM and the coach. He's not the guy foremost responsible for the success. He's number 2 behind Belichick, the GM and the coach. Brady, it was in the article, Stephen A., the Wickersham article, how upset he was after the loss to the Eagles, where he threw for 1 billion yards. They never had to punt, right? But they still lost. Why? Because it was the worst defensive Super Bowl in the history of sport, in the history of Super Bowls. That no one stopped anyone that game. The first team to make a good defensive play won. That was the Eagles. So the offense was unstoppable, and he had weapons. He had Gronkowski, who was targeted like 15 times, Amendola, Dion. He had weapons in that Super Bowl. What Belichick saw was that's not enough. There are finite resources in the NFL. We can't put it all on the offense. He reworked the team into a great defensive team. And by the way, won the Super Bowl the very next year on the defense and the running game. So you see that you're not going to be the dominant team on offense, defense, and special teams. You just don't have unlimited paycheck to do it or unlimited resources to do it. Usually the Patriots are better in 2 out of the 3, almost always in 2 out of the 3. And that's how they won the very following year. Now this year, the Patriots still won 12 games, but Brady has further slipped. So, well, he had no weapons. Yeah, he didn't have a top-notch outside threat or tight end. I agree, but it was good enough to win 12 games, largely behind the defense. And a good game manager who's big on third down, which you can win a Super Bowl with, as you saw the year before. Why did Tom Brady leave? Because under those circumstances, no, he's not going to have all the weapons, and then you got to take away from the defense, which, the defense slips. That's not the way Belichick thinks is the best way to win, given where Tom Brady is at his stage in his career. Still won 12 games. So what does Tom Brady want? He wants a contract that pays him as though he's still a player that he's no longer. I mean, we could debate whether or not he is, and it's because of the weapons, and I see no deterioration in this, but he was worse under pressure. It took longer for him to process information, it seemed, and that's year over year, 2 years now. So between all of us sitting at home thinking about it and Belichick, who seems to understand his personnel and how to put them in a position to win better than anyone, Belichick's view was, no, not more than a year deal, not under the circumstances that Brady wants. Given what's available now, it's pretty clear if Brady would have taken a deal Belichick gave him, he'd still be there. He chose to leave, so whose fault is that?
I'm going to say that there are 3 people involved in this, even though there are only 2 names. One of them is the quarterback. The other 2 are the coach and general manager, and they happen to be the same person. And I think it is Bill Belichick, the general manager, who, if we're going to assign blame to someone in a situation where sometimes a relationship just runs its course, and it was the most successful pairing in the history of American professional sports, so it's kind of hard to say this didn't turn out extraordinarily well for everybody. But if you just look at one thing, this past year, the New England Patriots took a receiver in the first round. His name is N'Keal Harry. Here are the names of people who were drafted after him: Deebo Samuel, A.J. Brown, D.K. Metcalf. Demonstrably better players. I think that if you look at the accumulation of talent in New England over the last several years, it has diminished. It has decreased. And you have to put the blame for that on Belichick. Now, they kept on winning. And part of that is the Patriot way, and part of it is the brilliance of the quarterback. And I will say this. The other thing, Max, that I think Belichick got wrong is, if we are to believe everything that we have been told and that has been reported, it is that Belichick was ready to move on from Brady several years ago and hand the reins to Jimmy Garoppolo. And all Brady did since then was take the team to 3 Super Bowls, win 2 of them, and be the MVP of the league at the age of 40. So I do not believe that Bill Belichick, the general manager, has done extremely well by the greatest coach of all time, who happens to be the same person.
Greeny, I can't prove a counterfactual. I can say that if you look at Garoppolo's win-loss record, especially when you look at the Niners, who couldn't win, he shows up, they can't lose, he gets hurt, they can't win, he comes back, they can't lose, and they wind up in the Super Bowl up 10 points in the 4th quarter. I can't prove a counterfactual, but I don't know that if Garoppolo stays in place, they have less success or more success. I suspect maybe a little less success, but now they're set up better going forward. In terms of Belichick, the GM, you're right about his drafts. He's not perfect, especially on offense in the last few drafts. But how can you really say behind the brilliance of the quarterback? 2 years running, they were a dominant team mainly because of the defense. That's mainly what did it, and that's Belichick
listen.
redirecting resources to the defense.
Well, first of all, they weren't. Their defense wasn't that dominant in the AFC Championship game that you continuously and repeatedly remind us that Patrick Mahomes didn't get the ball last, and that's what saved the day, along with the offside penalty with D Ford and what have you. You repeatedly